In this real side experience, I would find myself in just an observing capacity, and what I was observing then would always be based on my decision and choice, as we always are the deciders of our experiences, and what we are shown on the real side also dependent on the degree to which the personal self wants to be shown more than what it knows. For as much as an individual may cocoon themselves within their self-decided consciousness construction, as they are self-convinced and self-satisfied with their little illusionary bubble of simulated creational reality, a bubble of illusion that stems from a routine as to idea agreement, thought and emotion, as the personal self derives a comfort from familiarity, so this self-enclosed bubble of the consciousness clung to very much will be so also on the real side. Individuals take their clung to ideas of consciousness illusion with them, even though, as they remove their awareness from the consciousness, that as they remain in it, must always have them perceiving and experiencing the physical level, which is the effect of the ideas in the consciousness, decoded through the physical level apparatus. But as awareness moves from the consciousness, like taking off the virtual reality headset that we experience the physical level through when we sleep at night, so we are at liberty to potentially explore anything of the multi-dimensionality of ourselves, and the life levels, positions that effect from the various parts, vehicles of the personal self, and including the real universes of the ears, if we have the recognition to be able to do so. But so attached and fixated on the consciousness construction, the ideas of it, that most will remain in these little bubble illusions, and even though they are, as everyone is, multi-dimensional, they have limited themselves to certain ideas, certain effects, certain simulated illusions. For such one-dimensionally focused individuals, as their attention always has been on the physical level, as this then is a decision to not explore and become aware and recognize more of creation and the life levels, also then their positions on a transition will rarely allow that they can move much beyond the astral level. The next position after the physical vehicle, which is designed to perceive the physical level, expires, and like removing the virtual reality physical level headset, one must then be automatically in a position other than that which the physical body vehicle The headset was designed to perceive and provide experience for the process of awareness will afford more accessibility to the entirety of the simulator, which again, we already are everything that the simulator comprises of, as all our personal self-body vehicle aspects are what generates the corresponding life levels, but we always decide what of a creation we will experience and where we will be positioned. And if we are content to be one-dimensionally focused, then our positioning in life will be limited accordingly, and the astral as far as we might go on a transition. And even there, such might be the focus of an individual on the physical level that they can't even perceive the astral they now are in. And although then individuals cocoon themselves in these self-decided limited bubbles as they go on to the real side, this may not apply to others who have a greater awareness and recognition of the other dimensions of the simulator. The dark forces are self-limited, but they will see more than the average one-dimensional indoctrinated human slave, and even though such humans may not see the dark force reptilians and indeed other beings on the real side, so encapsulated in their bubbles of illusion that they are, other more aware beings can certainly see them. The dark forces will be watching. The real guides will also be watching, but the guides will be looking for those ready to step up and take on the journey of ease recognition, and then will approach them first on the real side if they can find an agreement opening, because it follows that the want to become more aware, even though the personal self may not recognize the exact nature of this want, as it is the nudge from the real awareness, as it is ready to recognize the ease, this want will open the personal self up to the real guides, that they can feature in the individual's simulation on the real side, and afford them the opportunity of the ease, perchance that it may filter through to the personal self on the physical. For without that want, that urge, that intent to want to be more than we are, or how our consciousness currently is, we rather operate in an enclosed, impenetrable bubble that disallows the guide's access, for we must free will open up to life and the guides to let them in, that they can assist us. And from my observing capacity in this real side experience, would I watch a school or university on the real side of students in their 20s, age-wise or so, but rather an extension of agreement to the systems and ideas as presented by the controllers? For whatever we agree with will reflect on the real side, and as you might imagine, the indoctrinated 20-year-olds, having been brainwashed and literalized through the standing schooling systems, now were fixated on assuming positions in the controller systems that for them might seem as though making sense, but in fact are contributing to the overall planetary destruction, as all systems currently are designed for. And so, such an intensity of focus of university students would very likely have them very much also sitting in the extended illusions of their university postings on the real side. And as I said earlier, as individuals become more cocooned and self-limited through their one-dimensional personal self-focus, so their awareness is limited to just these bubbles of reflected illusion on the real side, and very likely they won't even realize how their fixations, focus and attention on certain ideas have them so real side limited, as many probably don't even consider the reality of the real side, and dismiss any experiences they may have as mere dreams and of little consequence. But even if they were aware within their real side experiences, it is an awareness that doesn't extend beyond their decided bubble illusions, and then can be the case where others, more aware, can be observing them, and yet they are oblivious they are being observed by these more aware individuals. And as I watched on, not only were these shuffling drone-like students oblivious of my presence, but of the presence of another also, another who watched on, as though to determine that all these individuals here were maintained in their illusions of consciousness. For yes, the other who watched on, glaring at each student as though reading them, was none other than the reptilian Queen of England. For indeed, anyone becoming more aware, a stepping beyond the consciousness, would be very apparent to the watching dark force reptilians, as of course behaviour would reflect intent and awareness, and someone becoming more aware would present in ways through their activities very differently than those content to sit in their controlled and reptilian moulded and designed consciousness of agreements. The Queen would seemingly be unable to see me, however, for again, evidently, I was presenting myself from a position beyond her decided illusions of simulated ideas also, and that she may have a greater awareness than the average indoctrinated slave, that she could then watch them, but they be unaware of her presence. But she also was self-limited, and like all reptilian controllers, can only see so far. For we can, as we connect with the real awareness, stand completely in the true reality and nowness of it, be aside from creation, but still able to observe anything of it, as the real awareness is this one overall awareness that is through and animates all consciousness and the simulations effected from them. My attention was then drawn to a kind of simulated overlap of this scene, as though someone had peeled back a section and another position was perceivable behind the primary scene, like a kind of scene within the overall scene that again no one here could perceive, including the Queen, as she continued watching and glowering at each student as she assessed their acquiescence and agreement to the controlling reptilians she represented. For we are multi-dimensional, and as I said, the real awareness we all are is through everything simulated, as everything is within the isness of its reality. However, the personal self can be shown but pieces, individual scenes and experiences, that it can better relate to what's taking place, and not be overwhelmed with too much information at once, or it would be like watching multiple movies at once, and less likely the personal self can glean much from such a bombardment of imagery. But this did reiterate how we are multi-dimensional, and how we can view simultaneous scenes at once, how our personal awareness view can bridge or incorporate multiple scenes, experiences, dimensions and life-level positions, presented in this simulated manner of a scene within a scene, and within this scene, which was a desert setting, were two individuals. One was a seeker of wisdom and knowledge, as were my impressions. The other was a very skilled and gifted individual, a kind of mystic or other, the kind of someone that the seeker evidently would always endeavour to find. Again, neither could perceive me, as my real awareness view was from a position beyond their simulated, self-decided bubbles. The mystic was explaining to the seeker as to how he can manipulate his physical level situation in any way he desires. For any limitation we experience on the physical is simply due to what we have decided, what we have agreed to as ideas that we have taken on and have become the consciousness, a consciousness that must always then effect the limitations of ideas we have decided as our experience. And as we might limit ourselves through the ideas we decide on, certainly will the consciousness, the greater bulk of it, the subconscious, be brimming with agreed ideas of limitation that stem from the controllers. For, of course, they would wish their slaves to be as limited as possible, as this makes them more controllable and farmable. But despite how the consciousness is constructed, one can learn to bypass it, to step aside from it, and an accessing of the psychic science abilities of the ethereal vehicle can have individuals able to do whatever they want, as they are unbound by any restrictions and limitations in the consciousness, that by maintaining an agreement to would present these limitations. And this mystic would reveal his technique, as he proclaimed his method to bypass any limitations of the consciousness by placing himself in a mode where he was asleep but was still awake and on the physical at the same time, then could manipulate his simulation as he saw fit. So he was expressing the same methodology with his own references, for when we sleep, we move beyond the consciousness and are unshackled by its limitation, a limitation that binds us to its agreement construction on the physical, unless we cling to the ideas of it and are equally as limited on the real side. Whereas in reality, on the real side, we are unlimited. Everything is instantly so, as we think and decide it. And so, being asleep on the physical, though still awake, as he put it, would be the same principle that is automatic as we go on to the real side when we sleep, that of stepping aside from the consciousness, which we can do just as readily on the physical level, as we stand in the nowness of our real awareness, and are aside from the consciousness therefore. And for those with the ability to bypass the consciousness of mind and emotions, that they are not encumbered by the limitations it contains of what can and can't be done, which are simply decisions as to our experience. Such individuals, if unlocking the abilities of the ethereal, the imagination body, a part of the mind, but less rigid and more free-flowing, can then perform feats of seeming magic. And the mystic here would emphasize the point as he first levitated, then took to the air, and would be flying over the amazed seeker's head just like Miller Ripper was able to do. And of course, we must be cautious that we don't become absorbed into any created ideas, including those through the imagination vehicle and the abilities we may be able to unlock, as such abilities can become thrill-seeking distractions in their own right. As everything in creation, anything created, any idea, any pursuit or that which we chase, will embroil us in the effects we then are resigned to. And the overall purpose is to get through all ideas, to see them for what they are, as comparison references, to recognize the is by, and not realities, to become absorbed and lost in, unless we decide that is what we want. But nevertheless, these abilities, if used in ways that make sense with life and are awareness beneficial, and if they are an aid to surviving better on the physical, then this makes sense, as everything is workable, as long as we maintain our overall focus on the is and the recognition of this true reality. For if a bypassing of the consciousness and a utilizing of the ethereal faculties can say, allow us to exist without the need to drink, eat, or even breathe, as the idea limitations in the consciousness dictate these we must do, then these would be rather useful skills and abilities to unlock, considering how poisoned and polluted the world is becoming, where even the air is becoming rapidly unbreathable. For again, our experience on the physical, as it is on the real side, is exactly as we decide it is, a simulation of our devising, and this then has us able to embrace the notion that nothing is beyond our ability to be or create, and any limitations we have is basically as we have decided them through the consciousness we have constructed, through the agreement to ideas our own or those of others.
Hello, Kevin. Yes, that was great. Yes, more people should listen to what you're saying because, again, here's the focus and what's going on, what's taking place, and it's all about awareness. So, people have a lot of knowledge, but it really doesn't relate to anything for the most part. I watch as things are taking place in the world and here and whatever. And the focus is very important to really understand the real awareness and the real universes and all the old funny stuff that we've gone through, the spiritual paths and initiations, chakras, and all this silly stuff. Yes, it's all childish, silly stuff, and it's not needed anymore because everything is direct. And so, again, those that like to play with their mind and feel that's entertainment, well, it all leads nowhere. The idea is it's about awareness. Everything is about awareness and to become aware of that. So you're seeing what's taking place, which has already taken place for the longest time, the Queen and whatever, the monarchy and all the controllers are, they're keeping an eye on everything because they want to make sure that people don't become more aware. They want them to go into more lifetimes because to them, that's their bread and butter. It really is, and it's all silly stuff, but awareness is everything, and to really see and understand that. And when people use the old references, well, they're just limiting themselves to that nonsense. So it is the new nowness. It's all about the is and the real guides, and recognizing your real awareness and doing something along those lines. And yes, thank you so much, Kevin, because you're very focused there. Thank you.